Hello and welcome to the Roselle Friends Talk Show. It's my pleasure, absolute pleasure, to introduce to you a very multi-talented, inspirational young man. His name is Aaron Pemberton. Aaron, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Dr. Roselle.
Yes, it's an absolute pleasure to have you. So I said that you are multi-talented simply because you are a singer.
Poet, writer, author.
A songwriter, a novelist, a poet, and you have at least 20 books.
Yes.
To your name.
Just following the vicissitudes of life just led me on this journey, which kind of brought out all of these different talents. I didn't intend on doing that. Initially, I only thought about being an artist.
Right.
That's what I really wanted to do. But then my parents, being who they are, they did not want me to go into the same industry as they did.
All right.
They didn't like the industry for me.
Right.
And they wanted me to do something more practical. So along the road, I ended up learning all these trades, picking up all these skills, and by this time,
yes,
I've been able to exercise most of them.
That's marvelous. And you know, let's tell the viewers that you are the son of Boney M,
yes,
or Liz Mitchel-Pemberton.
The lead singer.
And so, you know, growing up in a family with such fame, levels of fame, one can understand why they didn't want you to follow, you know, because they've had
a lot of drama, there's a lot
yes,
of turmoil.
Yes.
It's very insecure.
Right.
As a way of life. Show business is one of the most insecure careers a person can take, because you don't know where it's going to lead you.
Yes.
So for these reasons, my parents chose to educate me, and
right,
they sent me to private schools. And
you went to the Oratory in Reading.
I went to the Oratory School in Woodcote,
right,
in Reading, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then I went to Moncton Combe School in Bath.
Right.
And
boarding.
They were boarding schools.
Mm-hmm.
I focused mostly on arts and English, obviously,
right,
because I had a passion for arts. That was naturally embedded in me.
Yes.
I couldn't do anything about that, so when I went to do my A-levels, I chose to try and compromise with my parents to
right,
find subjects that would make them feel comfortable,
mm-hmm,
not so fearful or paranoid that I was going to go off the rails.
Yes.
Some artists taking drugs and
yes,
drinking copious amounts of alcohol.
And that's not you.
Well, no. It didn't become me anyway.
Yes.
I ended up studying subjects like English,
yes,
and photography.
That's what was at Brunel.
That was in college. And then
correct,
at Brunel, after I finished my college A-levels, I went to a university called Brunel.
Predominantly engineering, isn't it?
Yes. It was sort of by chance that I ended up going to Brunel. I was looking through the UCAS book, and it was just a matter of matching the numbers for me, actually.
Right.
My dad said maybe it would be better for me to go to an Ivy League university and in the States,
yes,
and select one properly. But I didn't do that. I simply just looked for a university that was going to give me a subject that I wanted to study.
Okay.
And it ended up being Brunel.
Right.
So I went there, and there were a lot of different issues that arose. It became precipitate that I got sick because I wrote 5 books on top of the coursework. In the 3 years that I was at the university, I had written an epic story called The Evangelist, and I'd written a satirical novel called Nigel,
yes,
and I'd also written a book called The Mental Binoculars of the Judge Pope.
How did you find the time to write these and attend your full-time college and do the coursework?
Well, I was very young,
right,
and when you're young, you don't
you're
always...
Still young.
But you don't always know how to manage your time.
Right.
It's very difficult to organize socializing, eating,
yes,
working,
yes,
and putting all of these things together properly. And I made a mess of it when I went to Brunel. In the first year, my health had started to deteriorate. I did it I wrote all those books, and I did my coursework by not eating. I sacrificed meal times, not sleeping. I sacrificed nights. I worked through the nights, but I was very passionate about my writing.
Well, yes.
So it didn't really bother me that I was not sleeping or that I was not eating. There were. I lost a lot of weight, and then I became sick. My mental health deteriorated. Not long after I left the university, I received a certificate of higher education.
Right.
My grades were very much affected by my bad time management.
It was distracting.
There was distracting.
The main focus.
By the time I left university, I was ill. I had a chemical imbalance in my brain. That led to mental deterioration, which caused psychosis. And this was all precipitate because of the amount of work that I was doing.
Yeah, you drove yourself to that point, yes.
And
but it didn't stay there.
It didn't. I recovered.
Dramatically.
I recovered, and I made a dramatic recovery.
And that's
my
what's good about this story.
Like to tell my story because a lot of patients don't have the blessing yet in their lives. So my doctors like to tell their patients about the story that I've lived. And it's...
So not only did you get back up again, what did you do? You went back to university?
I went back to university. Right. I studied creative writing and journalism.
Another degree?
Another degree, based in the same faculty, human sciences.
But at Kingston? This was at Kingston?
This was at Kingston University, I got accepted there, and I studied creative writing and journalism. And that went beautifully. Right. All of the mistakes that I made the first time I went, I learned.
Yes.
So if you're watching this and you're considering going to university, there is a lot of advice in what you just heard that you can take on board and save yourself a lot of trouble.
By being sensible, focus on the main thing.
Focus, yeah.
Yes, you were lucky you rose, beyond that challenge, because it was mega challenging.
It was.
You rose and you were able to overcome it.
It's really just time management. If you can manage your time properly, not get carried away in one thing or the other.
Yes.
And even if you're not an enthusiastic writer. Or an enthusiastic musician, even if you're not doing something enthusiastically, manage your time so that when you're doing simple things like socializing, eating, and your basic coursework, you're not overdoing one part and sacrificing another part.
The others,
It's just a question of time management, and if you can do that in anything, then you're more likely to succeed at what you're doing.
That's right. Okay, so that's tremendous advice. And while you're at university, you formed a band.
Yeah.
So you've been writing and doing all these things. You came back and you formed a band.
I formed a band called the Supernova Heroes.
Supernova Heroes.
It was formed of, I think it was one of the first bands of its kind. We were people from all different ethnic minorities.
Right.
We had all different religious backgrounds. And our music was to celebrate peace, harmony, and we tried to. We ended up touring. I wrote the album, and about a year later, we ended up touring. I was working through my parents' contacts. We were touring Europe. We were touring London.
What was the music? What's the genre?
It was kind of like a mellow rock. Kind of music. One of the songs that we sing is a song called Breathe. It goes, my friends, the sky is clear. Did you see the eagles fly through the air? We've got a world to play in like a child. I want to get moving. And it goes on.
Wonderful.
It's very rough demonstration. I have a cold right now. I have a cold, so it sounds very rough. I'm sorry.
That's marvelous, yes.
It's a very mellow kind of spiritual ethos. We try to bring the crowd together from whatever background they come from, whatever age, whatever ethnicity they are. We try to bring them together and
that
have a good time.
togetherness is dynamic, isn't it? Well, because you draw on the richness that comes from members. Each member, isn't it?
Yes.
Yes.
It worked very well. And then unfortunately, we had to work on individual projects. So I started performing the songs individually by myself,
Right.
and they started doing the same thing. It happened because our work priorities and our family commitments just pulled us away. But I suspect that at some stage we'll either regroup or a new Supernova Heroes. I'll form a new Supernova Heroes because I'm still performing the songs, and we still have the EP to release.
Right.
The EP will be released at some point in 2017, 2018.
What it demonstrates is that, I mean, that drive and that passion to succeed that you had during your university years, I mean, you still have that element, because you're wearing many, many hats. And apart from the band, you're still performing, you're still writing, and you've set up your own company.
Yes,
Squint
Chorus,
yes.
Squint Chorus UK and Squint Chorus ADP.
What does Squint Chorus mean?
Squint Chorus, squint is, as it is used in local vernacular, it's to squint your eyes. Chorus is Greek for satire. And the reason I called the company Squint Chorus was at the time of its incorporation, I was looking at all of the different things that were making my life, making the picture of my life. And because my mum was very famous, but I was working in BHS, and in Threshers.
To do your apprenticeship.
I wasn't quite Paris Hilton or
right.
or one of those progenies after after famous or successful parents.
Yes.
And I was looking at my life and I was saying, well, this is very satirical. How is it that I'm working in such a menial position here, and I'm speaking to my parents every day who are jet setting across the world.
That's right.
So my writing reflected that at the time. When I was working in BHS, I wrote a book of satires called, which is now called Squint Chorus, an exquisitely detailed book of poetry.
Yes.
And it has metaphors, and it's an allegory about the characters that I was working with. And it speaks about things in a very not demonizing way, but just a very laconic, lofty sort of satirical way.
Right.
And that's how I was carrying on when I was working there.
Okay.
And
then you went on to write the book Boney M.
I wrote my mother's autobiography.
Your mother's autobiography.
Yeah, in 2000.
And in there, you also used that metaphorical framework, to describe some of the experiences that she went through.
Yes, I love metaphors.
I found it absolutely thrilling, and as I read it, I was giggling.
It helps to embellish a lot of writing.
Yes,
so I
it
like
does.
to use metaphors, although I don't get a chance to use them in all the books that I write.
Yes.
But with my mother's book, I decided to be adventurous.
Yes.
And to try and write an autobiography that was slightly different.
It is different
to the standard
General
autobiography that you would read.
Yes.
So I
mean,
included
for example,
things like
you talked about the spoiler.
the spoilers, yeah.
And you were referring to the kind of media machine.
Yeah.
And
the spoiler is a creature that is constantly feeding and reaping from the artist, or reaping from the character that it victimizes. So in the book, the spoiler is again, metaphorically speaking, it's the media machine, which is the industry.
That's
basically.
Right, yes. And then the masks, this whole idea that you've got to live the life that the spoiler determines rather than your own.
Right.
And sometimes put your own life on hold while you are,
while you're
presenting a mask.
Painting, while you're painted in a way that can be commercially accepted. And that's something which my mother had a problem with, and I'm suffering with the same problem. There is a lot of they picture you, they label you in ways that that make it very difficult for the character to blossom, or for the character to develop properly.
But knowing who you are and standing and being quite firm. I mean, you mentioned the fact that you found your mother inspirational in that the songs that she sung about love and the spirit, and of course she's a reverend now.
Yeah.
That was highly inspirational, surely.
She has a very unique talent, a very unique presence, which if you look at her and you've seen her performing from start to finish, you'll recognize immediately. There is a sense of spiritualness, a spirituality, and a soulfulness that's very subtle in the way she performs, but it carries a depth and a love for people and for the work that she's doing, which has made her the success that she is.
And I think it will make you, having been part of that whole experience, the success that you already have, young, aged 35, 20 books under your belt.
I would like to think so.
I would
hope that I would be able to achieve as much success as my mother has. Although I have exceeded in creating the writing that I've done, and we've produced 20 plus titles.
You also sing.
I also sing. We produced an album
in Dubai, didn't you?
Yes. I performed at a concert. We performed the song "Breathe," which I gave you a sort of rendition of.
Yes.
With my
that was nice.
Cold, sore throat. But yeah, we performed "Breathe," that song, in Dubai.
Right.
And
well received.
It was a great show.
Absolutely.
It was a great show.
Yes.
But I can't take credit for the show. I only performed for a part of it.
You did your part.
I did my part.
Yes.
But it was a great show. We were there there was a monsoon at the time we were there, which is very strange because Dubai is usually hot. It's a desert country. But all the rains fell when we were there at that time. So we were slightly disrupted in that sense. But other than that, the show was great.
That's good. Do you know, I have to take my hat off to you. I am very inspired by you. I feel I connect with, the kind of passion and drive that you have, the determination.
I hope you do, because I certainly connect with the things that you've done. To receive your book today, and to have spoken to you in the past, and even to be sitting here right now, this is a privilege for me. Truly.
Thank you so much.
It is great to to be able to converse and reciprocal in this way.
I will be following your work.
Great.
I will be there at any time. Just call. Thank you so much, Aaron, for coming on the show. It's an absolute pleasure to have you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Phoenix Study Guides are a series of brilliant English books aimed at both children and adults. All books in this series are freestanding and focus on specific areas of learning, or you can work through to build excellent foundation skills for success in English. The Spelling Book. The book provides a simple, step-by-step method that helps students learn to read and spell through appealing activities, which provide very clear information to help you learn English spelling, reading, and writing rules via a graded approach. Vocabulary Book. This refreshingly, lively, easy approach vocabulary skills for students and teachers Volume 1 comes packed with 60 units of fun activities to boost your vocabulary, reinforced by 60 gap-filling tests with answers. The Grammar Book is a one-stop grammar guide loaded with helpful tips, worksheets and grammatical rules with 145 tests for students of all ages. Essential for SATs, ideal for all key stages 1 to 4. Clear, concise teaching methods and easy to follow techniques. An excellent resource for mastering subject terminology in GCSE English. Get your copy today. Or email eaglepublications58@gmail.com. Also available on Amazon and all good booksellers.
Hi, this is Jo Caesar, and you are watching the Roselle and Friends Talk Show.
Hello and welcome to the Roselle and Friends kitchen. Today in our kitchen we have Joyson, who's going to cook up some extraordinary delights for us.
Definitely.
Joyson's going to cook what?
I'm cooking jerk chicken today with sweet potato fries.
Hot.
It's going to be hot. I'm going to tame this one down just a little bit,
Right,
just
okay.
so it's eatable. You know,
Right.
I don't want to burn anybody's taste buds.
Okay, jerk chicken. So because it's jerk, where is it from?
Jerk actually originated from Jamaica.
Right.
There's two forms of jerk. You can either get a dry jerk or you can get a wet jerk.
Right.
So it does depend on how hot you want it.
So when we say jerk, we're talking about the sauce or what's going to
yeah, I mean,
cook that chicken.
yeah, the sauce is going to be jerk, so it's going to be hot. It's going to be loads of
Peppery.
flavors, very
Hot.
peppery, very hot.
Okay. Nice.
So we're going to start with the chicken. Normally you could use a chicken breast.
Okay.
You'd probably eat 3 or 4 chicken breasts, depending on how many you're cooking for. Today,
You've got
I'm
legs.
actually going to use a leg and a thigh.
Right.
Only because the
Okay.
skin takes a lot of flavour. I like the bone in
I like
there.
meat on the
so
bone
I
is
love
good,
it.
yeah.
Absolutely
Plus
love
it's
it.
finger licking too.
Absolutely.
Okay.
So we're going to just cut this down, ever so, just like this.
Yeah.
So I've got 3 different bits, okay?
Yes.
So we're going to pop that in there. And what I'm going to do is I've got some onions, some lemon, and some lime.
Right.
I have some thyme. I've got a little bit of ginger, 3 cloves of garlic,
Right.
which we're going to use as well.
Fantastic spice, isn't it?
Fantastic spices,
Caribbean.
very flavoursome. And the all dangerous
Scotch bonnet.
Scotch bonnet.
Oh, my nose.
I'm only going to use 3 for this one.
Only 3.
I'm only going to use 3 for this one.
I wouldn't even use 1 generally, but
It's really nice flavours.
that's why it's called jerk chicken.
So what we're going to do is we're going to do rough cuts of everything.
Okay.
Okay, so what we're going to do is we're just going to cut this down just into quarters.
Okay.
Okay, put it to one side. The ginger, everything we're going to just rough chop.
Yep. Nicely peeled.
Nicely peeled, just a few rough cuts.
Right.
We're going to leave the seeds in the Scotch bonnet. Just
Oh, that makes it even more fiery.
makes it even more fiery. So we'll just get the tops off. So we use these. Pop that over there. Okay. So what we do is we've got the blender over here.
Okay.
Bring it
So
over.
you're going to blend that now?
We're going to blend everything. We're going to make a nice paste. We're not
Okay.
going to do a dry one today. We're going to do a wet one.
A wet one.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I'm from Grenada, so
Yes.
growing up in a Caribbean household, you know, Mum and my sister, they loved cooking jerk. So
I was
always,
going to
always
say what a
cooking.
young man like you is doing all this wonderful, delightful cooking.
Yeah,
but
Mum.
then, you know, you've made it a career as well.
Yes, I have. I have. I'm actually currently working for a privately owned hotel in Victoria.
Right, yes. I
Um,
like to see a man in the kitchen. Yes.
we normally, in a traditional jerk, you would use brown sugar.
Okay.
I use white sugar.
What's
I
that?
find brown sugar a bit too much, a bit
Okay.
too sweet.
Sweet.
Yeah.
It is
So
very sweet,
just
that is
1
true.
tablespoon
Right.
of sugar. We're going to use a little bit of tomato paste,
Okay.
just to take a bit of the spice away from
Okay.
the Scotch bonnet.
Yes, yes.
Just a little bit.
Right. Tones it down a bit.
Tones it down, just
Yeah.
a tiny touch. I'm going to use 1.
It's all very colourful though.
All very colourful, very nice colours. And that's all you really need.
It's a
You
blender
don't.
of spicy goodness.
That's all it really is. That's all you really need. You don't
That's
need to take it
terrific.
any further. If you have a
Right.
look, you can see it's not extremely
Okay,
like,
yes,
it's
yes.
still got quite a bit of base to it.
Yes.
Okay.
Nice and thick.
So I'll just pop that in the sink over here.
Okay.
And we're gonna just spoon.
Gonna coat that chicken a bit.
Yeah, we are.
So now that you've got the jerk sauce on that chicken,
Yeah.
what's gonna happen?
So I didn't put any salt and pepper in the marinade. The
Right.
reason being, it's a lot better if you just sprinkle just a tiny bit over the top.
Right. Okay.
Soaks it up so much more differently, and that's all you need.
Right.
You don't need a lot of salt and pepper because you've got so much flavour inside
Yes,
already.
yes.
So we're going to pop this in the oven.
Okay.
Approximately, maybe I'd say, especially because it's on the bone, I'd say probably 20 minutes.
20 minutes.
20 minutes at max.
Right. Okay.
Right. We're going to start on our sweet potato
Sweet potato.
fries. So get our peas out,
Okay.
and we're just Right, so now we're gonna just cut these down into wedges.
Right.
They're quite small, so we're not gonna make them too tiny. We're just gonna make them nice and right. Just cut it in half. Just kind of like big, kind of chunky chips.
Chips, yes.
Yeah. Especially the chicken's gonna be so hot as well. So
you need a lot of that to soak up.
You need a lot of it to soak it up. So we'll just cut these down really quickly, nice and easy, just into threes. Now we're gonna get the chicken out of the oven.
Right.
And as you can see, it has absolutely amazing colour.
That looks rich and delicious.
The little bit, it's not burnt, it's more flavour than it is anything else.
Right, yes,
okay?
yes.
I've actually cooked these in olive oil as opposed to vegetable oil, yeah.
Okay.
I find vegetable oil kind of takes flavour away. Anything you cook in vegetable oil, the vegetable oil drains the flavour, it's just not the same.
Okay.
Olive oil only reaches a certain temperature, and it keeps all your flavour inside.
It only reaches a certain temperature?
It won't go anything over 120.
Okay, well that's interesting. So, in a way, your food remains whole and undestroyed by
Absolutely undestroyed.
the terror of the oil heat.
The terror of the oil. Get them on. And then just to finish everything off, I'm actually going to slice the Scotch bonnet.
You're bringing back the Scotch bonnet.
I'm bringing back the Scotch bonnet. It's just nice, lovely colours on the plate.
There's no mistaking that this is a hot dish.
It's going to be a hot dish. Lovely sprig of thyme.
Look at that.
And here we have
delightful.
jerk chicken,
Absolutely
sweet potato fries.
Delightful.